when the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keeps dealing me cards, I keep fitting in.
What's going on, people? What is going on? It's G. You already know what time it is. You know what it is. We are back in the damn building, and we're here today just for a quick match preview for tomorrow's game, kicking off at 12:30 in the UK against Bayern Munich. Now, this game's actually come up so quickly, really quick. I thought it feels like it was a couple of weeks ago I was talking about, worrying about this game. And when I say worrying, I just mean in regards to just whether or not Liverpool will be ready, so to speak, or look like they're ready for the season, and especially picking up this game as a really good, I don't want to say measure because it is difficult. It's still pre-season at the end of the day. Bayern Munich are at a different stage of their pre-season and things like that, but just more of an indication, okay, do Liverpool look like a team who are playing, good football at this current moment in time? Are certain players coming to fruition now? All these kind of various different things. And I think we've seen quite a bit, during this preseason so far. We played against Leicester, played against Firth. Can't remember the other team that Liverpool played against. I think the first preseason game. In the last 3 games, we scored 4 against Leicester. We scored 4 in the previous match, but we seem to hit 4 quite a bit. That's 12 goals that I think we have now scored during this preseason, and I think we've conceded 6. Not a very good ratio when you think about it, and I think there is a lot there that needs to be improved. Ultimately this is preseason, and this is the time for that level of improvement. But we'll hopefully see a better performance, so to speak, from the Reds as a whole in that game against Bayern Munich. And they are a very, very good team, so it's going to be interesting. Going to be very interesting. But before we obviously dive in to that, and before we take a look at a couple of talking points, make sure you guys have already smashed that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new. Now, obviously, I couldn't do this, this video without talking about, one of the biggest things that have happened, in the last couple of days, because, the transfer news stuff is pretty boring. We could dive into it, but I don't really want to. Liverpool had a bid rejected by Southampton. I think we're putting up another bid. Whether it gets accepted, I don't think so. I actually think by the time this video comes out, I think Southampton would have already rejected that second bid from Liverpool. I think it remains to be seen whether or not we're going to go in for another defensive midfielder. People in the chat, let me know what you think. In the comment section, should I say? Do you think Liverpool should go back in for him? Is he worth the 50 million? That Southampton actually want. Ultimately, this is it's giving me shades of the Chelsea and Caicedo deal. Ultimately, we know the price. We know how much they're willing to let him go for. We're obviously, as you do in negotiations, you're obviously just trying to see if there's a lower marker. If we can get that extra 5 million or whatever it is that we're trying to go to. Ultimately, it doesn't really look like Southampton are willing to budge, on that. So, it's one of those kind of things, at this current moment in time, I think anybody who comes in 50 million plus, as an example, I think they get Lavia. I think Southampton will, they've stated and they've been more than happy to do so. He hasn't got release clause. He hasn't got, anything in his contract saying he has to leave at this price. The only thing he does have is next season, if Southampton don't obviously sell and he's available next season, I think Manchester City can then buy him back for 40 million, so I think it's going to be very, very scary if he does not leave this summer. I think Manchester City are probably going to be looking at that potentially. I mean, I know they've obviously got Rodri. They've still got at this current moment in time, they've still got Calvin Phillips as well. So maybe not. But if that deal is there to be done, I can see Pep Guardiola saying, why not? Why not? He would have had 2 seasons, men's football. I know one will probably be in the Championship. One was in the Premier League. If he performs perfectly for Southampton like he did last season, or in the season just gone, it might almost be a little bit like a quick 2-year loan, buy him back. Bob's your uncle. Thank you, Southampton. Good to go. So Liverpool really do need to get themselves in there in regards to that defensive midfield position. But we're going to get onto that in a second. First thing is first, and that is obviously this man here, Virgil van Dijk. Virgil van Dijk. He has been named Liverpool's new captain for the up and coming season, with Trent Alexander-Arnold becoming the vice captain. Now, obviously, Liverpool got like this leadership group and all that kind of crap. Forget all of that. The new captain is obviously Virgil van Dijk. Obviously, he'll be following in the footsteps, big up Bleacher Report, following in the footsteps of Steven Gerrard, Jordan Henderson, pulling on that armband for Liverpool Football Club. Very, very interesting. A lot of people, rightly so, have got a lot of opinions in regards to whether they think someone like Virgil should be captain. We've heard all the talk, whether you think it's nonsense, whether you believe it or whatever, we've heard all the talk in regards to his captaincy role, for the Netherlands, where he's obviously the national team's captain. A lot of negativity, not a lot of good stuff coming out, from the Netherlands in a general sense. And it's been going on for quite a while, quite some time. Again, like I said, whether you agree with it, whether you disagree with it, it's there. You know what I mean? And again, and more so, I guess, for the people who might disagree with it, ultimately, this is coming from seasoned professionals. These are coming from some really, really top players in their day. So let's not, sit here and behave and act like, oh, well, it's just the run-of-the-mill type of individuals, or he never did anything in his career. You've got the Ruud Gullits, the Wesley Snyders, the Rafael van der Vaarts, but top players. You respect them as players. I'm not saying that they're right, but any stretch of the imagination, at the end of the day, just because you are a top player, that doesn't then translate into meaning everything you say is gospel. And I do want people to kind of realize that. Don't take what they're saying as gospel, but at the same time, we're not talking about any run-of-the-mill player. So that caveat can't obviously be used with, in the context of this kind of conversation, because I know a lot of people say, oh, but you didn't do anything. They did things, especially, the Ruud Gullits and the Wesley Sneijder. Do you know what I mean? A man who's probably robbed of a Ballon d'Or potentially, a long time ago. So, it's weird. I guess I would say, there must be a reason. I don't know. I don't know too much about, the Dutch scene, Dutch football in terms of, how it is over there. What's the relationship like, with some of their players and stuff like that? Is there political reasons? Is there whatever? I have no idea. So again, someone in the comment section, maybe you'll be able to tell me, and I can understand a little bit better, as to why it is they felt that in the last couple of years, I would say year and a half, 18 months, why is it, they've been really hard on Virgil van Dijk. Do you know what I mean? At first I was kind of like, all right, cool. You know what? When they were saying it, he was having bad performances. Netherlands were having bad performances really and truly, during those period of time. So, is there a reason for it? Again, I don't know. Like I said, I would want someone to just kind of elaborate on that for me. But obviously, in regards to him being the captain for Liverpool, listen, look, we've all. I think with this kind of thing, something I did mention. Big up Monts on the Big Six Bands. Something I mentioned there. I think when you get to this kind of stage, in terms of it as a club, when you get to this kind of stage, of course, listen, look, if you've got the Steven Gerrard in your team, then that's a guy who you want to go to war with. But obviously, you don't have those kind of players, at this current moment in time. Not just at Liverpool, just in a general sense. Those kind of players are, few and far between. But when you're talking about captaincy at the top level, so you're looking at your Bayern Munichs, your Real Madrids, Manchester Cities. When you look at these kind of clubs, one thing I feel I notice with these kind of clubs is that they've got leaders all over the pitch. So the captaincy role, and this isn't to say the captaincy isn't important, anything like that, but at the same time, it's not placed at the highest order, if I'm being totally honest with you. Again, I'm not saying that the person who is captain of those clubs, so we had Benzema, I don't know who the Real Madrid captain is now. Gundogan was the captain of Manchester City, funnily enough, 2 players who have left. Don't know who the captain is, obviously, at Bayern Munich, but I'm not saying it's not important for them. Of course, it's a great pride. These are these are the biggest clubs in the world, in world football. So of course it's going to be a pride, for you to, it's going to be a proud moment, should I say, sorry, for you to be captains of these football clubs. And again, at Liverpool, same thing. Jordan Henderson being captain, of Liverpool, one of the biggest clubs out there, of course, it's going to be a big thing. But in terms of on the actual pitch and stuff like that, like I said, in today's football, I don't feel like we have those kind of personalities that we would have had, the Roy Keanes, the Steven Gerrards, the Patrick Vieiras, the John Terrys. I don't feel like we have the Rio Ferdinands and stuff. I don't feel like we have those kind of characters on the football pitch nowadays. What we've got are excellent footballers, and most of them are going to lead through being excellent footballers. Harry Kane is captain of England, whether you agree with it, whether you don't. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, these players are captain through performances and what they bring, on the football pitch. Now, off the football pitch is obviously important because, you need to maintain the club's image, in every such way, and all these other various things. So it's like there are lots of little caveats and stuff like that. But one thing I do notice, just to get back to that, with these top clubs is anybody, again, one of the more senior players, of course, and better players of the club, they'll be the captain, of the team. That's something I do notice quite a bit. With these kind of teams, I've seen Cruz be captain of Real Madrid if Benzema's not obviously got one main captain, but just in terms of on the pitch, Cruz or the Modrics or the Casemiro when he was still there, they'll be captain, of the team, absolutely no problem. Courtois has been captain, a couple of times. Manchester City, you've seen obviously Kevin De Bruyne, you've seen Gundogan, Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz, and I think that's where I'm hoping we're at, is that we're such a you're such a big club. You should just have leaders all around. The captaincy shouldn't be like one of the main things or one of the top things at the club. It's like, okay, he's captain, great. Yeah, do you know what I mean? You're the guy who's going to go talk to the referee at the beginning of games and all that kind of stuff, and even to the off pitch kind of stuff. Again, players should be maintaining the club's image anyway. So I'm not saying it's not important, and I'm not even trying to diminish anything that Jordan Henderson did, because he was a really, really good captain. Really forget even the on-pitch stuff, of course. But Billy Wise, no, of course, he can't match up to any of these guys. But in terms of just him as a whole package, really, really good. I know everyone you want a shouter, you want someone who's gonna. Me personally, again, just my own opinion. I'm not really too fussed about all of that kind of stuff. Are you good? Cool. Let's move. We've got so many. Supposedly, everyone was naming all their captains. Everywhere, everyone's talking about Ali should be captain, Robertson should be potentially be captain. Obviously, Van Dijk was one of the names. Salah. If you've got all of these captains in the team, it shouldn't really even be too much of a talking point or a big deal. If I'm being totally honest with you, I think we maybe when you've got a player like Jordan Henderson who isn't that good quality wise, I feel like that's why it gets talked about more. If you had a top player being the captain and amongst all the other top players who's going to play week in, week out, don't think it gets really spoken about too much. Don't think it's something that gets like, oh my goodness, you need him for this. Why? Well, I do struggle to really understand that, and again, not to diminish the role of being a captain, because again, like I said, I can only imagine Virgil van Dijk must be really proud of being the Liverpool captain, but ultimately, Trent's the bloody vice, and I don't think many people saw that. Again, like I said, Ali, Robertson, Salah, all more senior players than Trent Alexander-Arnold. So why weren't they picked as captain? Do you get what I mean? And I just think, for whatever reason that he's picked, obviously, Trent to be the captain, vice captain, should I say, of Liverpool, Scouser, Liverpool through and through, and all these kind of, different things. For whatever reason, he's obviously picked it that way. So, yeah, I just think we move on, we move forward. That's our captain now. Great. If he don't play or he's having a stinker, him being the captain has literally zero. It should I say, have zero impact on any decision that Jurgen Klopp may make. I do feel like sometimes he did kind of make that decision based upon the fact that Jordan Henderson was captain. So sometimes he'll play certain games where you just think, why is he playing, or does he deserve to be playing? He might have had a bad run of performances, but he's the captain of the team. Doesn't really matter. Virgil van Dijk, so it's probably going to be less likely because of the situation we do have at centre back anyway. But for me, if you're having a stinker, I don't care if you are the captain. Get off. Do you know what I mean? And let's put someone else in. Yeah, do you know what I mean? If Trent, you're having a stinker, looks like you're in the vice today. You know, Virgil then happens to go off. Whoever the next in line is, I don't know the group, but whoever's the next in line, cool. We bring them in, and I think it should just be like that anyway. You know, I think we should be past all of that. Do you know what I mean? This ain't the Gerrard days where we were just being bummy. Do you know what I mean? And he was epitomizing everything. We're past all of that now, man. We should be looking at supposedly being this top club and winning this and trying to win that and stuff. The captaincy, forget all of that, man. Let's focus on the football, because that's more important, to be honest with you. You know, let all the other people worry about being captain and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Let's focus on the things that really do matter, and that is obviously, you know, the football in itself. So yeah, that's just my little piece, you know, on the whole captaincy thing. Like, listen, everyone's got an opinion on it. Everyone's got an opinion on who they actually want to be captain. I really didn't mind. I mean, my pick was Salah, but if he ain't, I mean, it doesn't even look like he was even that high up in the food chain. Do you know what I mean? Which I was very, very astonished about, just because he's one of the best players at the club. You know, been probably the only consistent person in regards to the effect he has on the team and stuff like that since he's been here. So I was quite shocked. He is captain, obviously, of Egypt, so you know he's got that, which I would probably say is as equal, if not, no, I'd say more so, because obviously Egypt has more people in their country, you know, than Liverpool. You know, being the captain of, you know, Egypt, boy, but if you don't know that, then people need to get to know that is weight on your shoulders. Yeah, like I know you want to talk about, we talk about the weight, you know, of you know, Liverpool and stuff like that, and obviously big weight, millions around the world and stuff like that. But to have a weight of a country, I don't know, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Virgil van Dijk will be the same, you know, Dutch, same kind of context. Having the weight of a country, I feel like it would always outweigh really the weight of the weight of a football club. Because really, you can only really associate with wherever the club is. Yes, you've got millions around the world. So obviously, of course, you'll have more fans watching you, but the weight that you have from your own people, as opposed to just fans, you know, everywhere, I feel like it's different, man. But again, that's just my personal opinion on that. But I'm happy that he's the captain. Especially if I feel like he's going to be playing more often than not as well. So let's wait and see, man. Obviously, there's a few question marks in regards to his captaincy. Like I said, he wasn't really my pick, but I'm not fussed about it. So yeah, you know, that's just that. The next thing, obviously, I wanted to get onto real quick is looking at this guy here, and that is Curtis Jones. Now, Jurgen Klopp recently came out and just talking about Curtis Jones potentially playing in the six, well, in the deep lying playmaker role. We saw him play that through the Euros. Again, a lot of talk about Curtis Jones and his form recently and stuff like that. Is this gonna continue? Does he deserve to start first game? All these kind of little things. But just in regards to the game against Bayern Munich, listen, if Liverpool ain't gonna buy a six, then you got to just deal with what you've got. So, you know, we're stuck in that kind of position at this current moment in time. You know, it's either him or Trent or maybe McAllister could slot in there. It just depends on who you're comfortable with. Am I happy seeing him there? No, because I think he's better further forward. Kind of ironically playing in the role that McAllister likes to kind of play in, which is a little bit further forward. Because I feel like those kind of players need to get involved a little bit more. Yes, they can do it, but I don't really care for the they can do it kind of thing. You know, I think that's played out now. I play in the position that you can play, that you should be playing in, should I say? Sorry, you know, instead of this, oh, he can do this, he can't. Let's stop doing this Swiss Army knife kind of vibe, man. Let's actually just get these players playing in the best positions that, you know, we can utilize their skills and that can be more effective, you know, for the team overall. You know, so McAllister and Jones, whatever those positions you guys think that is, then those are the positions I feel, you know, they should be playing. Will Trent be going inverted tomorrow? Again, it'll be very interesting to see. We've heard about, obviously, Conor Bradley potentially, you know, being the right back, especially because, again, it doesn't look like Liverpool are going to buy a better right back, you know, so again, you've got to work with what you've got. So Conor Bradley being there, Joe Gomez potentially being the backup. Are they good enough? Who knows? But again, these are the kind of things I guess we've got to see, you know, in these kind of preseason games. So far, I've not really seen it, if I'm being totally honest with you. Nothing I've seen so far from them anyway has convinced me to think that yeah, we're fine on that in that area. I still think that yeah, Liverpool should be going out to sign someone, to be able to fill in that kind of area. Another player again, looking at Kanate, question. Yeah, Kanate is Kanate, man. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. When it does come to someone like him, is that another area I do feel Liverpool should be upgrading in? Not upgrading, but just let me not say upgrade because it sounds like I want to ditch him. Just someone who has different qualities. That's probably the best way to put it. I feel like obviously he's if you had someone else and he was there as a backup, oh my god, that's a sick backup to have. But would I prefer someone else there? Yes, 100%. But again, it's like I was saying about the Curtis Jones thing. It's like we deal with what we have. So obviously, if you've only got this and the makeup of the team and the way that Klopp wants to play and things like that, if this is what you've got, then this is just what you've got to work with. Jarell Kwanzaa, is he going to get some minutes tomorrow? Be again interesting to see. I don't know what team Bayern are going to put out. Whether they go really strong or go weak, strong, mixed, whatever. Again, Liverpool, we don't know what they're going to do. I think we'll try to play more closer to a first team, especially in that first half, and then potentially change it up in that second half. But then I don't know, because it could be dangerous if Bayern Munich, don't decide to change their team. So, you don't want the second half team to be, demoralized or anything like that, getting battered by a really strong Bayern outfit. And, they've got really, really good talent in reserve, kind of thing. In their squad, they've got so many players, that could potentially just pop in and out. Whereas I don't feel like we're blessed in that kind of sense. I feel like we've got like a clear distinction between who would be the first and who's, fringe and stuff like that. So I guess Klopp's just got to figure that part out. So yeah, Kwanzaa again, another one, but it was just like I was saying about the Curtis Jones playing in that 6th role. Can he do it? Klopp thinks yes, he can actually do it. If needed to be, but I think he still is looking for signings and stuff like that. So it will depend on whether we get new signings in, whether we see that as a future position for him. It's all up in the air. But tomorrow's game, like I say, that's why I was really, really intrigued to get into this game, because I really do want to see how we kind of play against a really, really strong team. Are there going to be certain patterns of play that we're going to see? Who do you guys even want to see playing in this kind of game? We've seen Ben Doak, who has actually, for me, impressed me during this preseason. He's one of the players I've looked at and thought, really, really good performances. You've put in really, really good performances. Obviously, this will be a test, of course, but really good performances thus far. McAllister, in and out. Him and Szoboszlai, again, they've not really played, I guess, too much. So it's quite difficult really to judge them. But those two has been more like in and out. Seen some really, really good bits. Seen some really, really quiet bits. Front line as well. What are we going to see there? Are we going to see Gakpo, Jota, Salah? Are we going to see Diaz, Nunez, Salah, like Doak? Who knows? You got the options there. So really just depends on how Klopp wants to do it. But again, I think it's difficult again because it's pre-season. It's like you want to see everything in pre-season, but it's only 90 minutes that you've got. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes it's difficult because you're also looking for different things: fitness, players to get minutes under their legs, players to get certain minutes under their legs. A team to be able to function and have that cohesiveness. Because then we need that cohesiveness moving forward. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, and I don't want to put too much pressure or anything like that, but I do want to see a good performance as always. I don't care if it's a friendly or whatever. You want to see good performance, good patterns of play, good football. And I think the major thing for me is, what, I'll almost even sack some of that off if we are just not so defensively vulnerable. I think in every game we played so far, we've been defensively vulnerable at some point, whether it be in the first half, second half, with this team, that team. The excuses kind of ran out in that game against Leicester City, because we played our full strength back line. Bar Kelleher in goal, that was our full strength back line. So the excuses are starting to just run out a little bit. So we can't have that same, but we played this team, so that we didn't. We played a strong team, and defensively it was just all over the gap. They were just cutting through constantly. Now, if you've got a team like Bayern Munich, again, provided they play a strong team, got a team like Bayern Munich, that will just pick you off. Do you know what I mean? If they decide to play Sané's or the Gnabry's or Matisse Tel, very, very good young striker, who can finish. I don't know about if Musiala is injured or if he's available. You don't really want to give these kind of players time to find the back of the net or even any level of space. These are top level players, like Tel being someone who could potentially get there, but the rest, they're all top level players. They've been playing at the top level for years. So you don't want to be giving these kind of guys, you know, that kind of space and stuff like that in the middle of the midfield. We don't want them to be able to play their game, because they could suffocate us potentially, you know, in that midfield. They played really well against Manchester City in the Champions League, you know, in the season just gone, and that was something that I noticed about them. They can be patient when they want to be patient. So we've just got to just play our game, But again, at the end of the day, it is a friendly, so you don't want to read too much into it, but I do feel it will go a long way to kind of understanding where Liverpool are at, you know, at this current moment in time, you know, before the season starts. But yes, guys, thank you for obviously watching this preview. Obviously, we kick off UK time 12:30. I will be doing match reaction after the game, whether it's here or on the Jerry James show, who knows, but either way, I will 100% be putting something out for you guys tomorrow, so please stay tuned for that. Let me know obviously your score predictions as well for the game. Let me know who you guys obviously want to see playing. What is your starting lineup? Let me know obviously what you think in the comment section. I'm G, and we are out.